Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Marine Journey. Hope you're all doing fine. And today we're gonna continue with the first part of the Atavism of John Ton, Little Bear. So let's do this. All right. Then the train rolled in, and a little woman in grey dress with a sort of illuminating hair slides off and looks around quick. And the boy Avenger sees her and yells, "Mama!" And she cries, "Oh!" And they meet in a clinch. And now the pesky Radskin, can come for from their caves on the plains without fear any more of the rifle of Roy, the Red Wolf, Mrs. Connors comes up and thanks me and John Tom without the usual extremities. You always look for in a woman. She says just enough in the way of convenience, and there is no incidental by the orchestra. I made a few illiterate requisitions upon the art of conversation, at which the lady smiles friendly, as if she had known me a week. And then Mr. Little Bear adorns the atmosphere with the various idioms into which education can fracture the wind of speech. I could see the kid's mother didn't quite please John Tom, but it seemed she was apprised in his dialects, and she played up to his lead in the science of making three words to work of one. That kid introduced us with some footnotes of explanations that made things plainer than a week of rhetoric. He danced around and punched us in the back and tried to climb John Tom's leg. "This is John Tom, Mama," says he. "He's an Indian and sells medicine in Red Wagon. I shot him, but he wasn't wild. There is other ones, Jeff. He's a fakir too. Come on and see the camp where we live, won't you, Mama?" It is plain to see that the life of the woman is in that boy. She has got him again where her arms can gather him, and that's enough. She's ready to do anything to please him. She hesitates the eighth of a second and takes another look at this man. I imagine she says to herself about John Tom, "Seems to be a gentleman if his hair don't curl." And Mr. Peters she disposed of as follows: "No lady's man, but a man who knows a lady." So we all rambled down to the camp as neighborly as coming from wake. And there she inspects the wagon and pats the place with her hand where the kid uses to sleep, and the and dabs around her eye winkers with her handkerchief. And Professor Binkley gives us Trovator on one string of the banjo and is about to slide off into Hamlet's monologue when one of the horses gets tangled in his rope and he must go look after him and says something about foiled again. When it got dark, me and Tom walked back up to the Corn Exchange Hotel, and the four of us had supper there. I think the trouble started at the supper for then was where when Mr. Little Bear made an intellectual balloon ascension. Intellectual balloon ascension. I held on to the tablecloth and listened to him swear. That red man, if I could judge, had the gift of information. He took language and did with it all. He took language and did it with all a Roman king do with macaroni. His vocal remarks was all embroidered over with the most scholarly verbs and prefixes, and his syllable was smooth and fitted nicely to the joints of his idea. I thought I'd heard him talk before, but I hadn't, and it wasn't the size of his words, but the way they come, and 'twasn't his subjects. For he spoke of common things like cathedrals and footballs and poems and catara and souls and freight rates and sculpture. Mrs. Connors stood his assents, and the elegant sounds went back back and forth between them. And then Jefferson D. Peters would intervene. A few shop-worn, senseless words to have the butter passed to another leg of the chicken. Yes, John Tom Little Bear appeared to be inveigled. Inveigled, summoned his bosom about that Mrs. Connors. She was of the kind that pleases. She had the good looks and more, I'll tell you. You take one of these cloak models in a big store. They strike you as being on the impersonal system. They are adopted for the eye. What they run to is inches around and complexion and the art of feigning. The delusion that the sealskin would look just as well on the lady with words and the pocketbook. Now, if one of their models was off duty and you took it, and it would say, Charlie, when you pressed it and sit up at the table, why, then then you would have something similar to Mrs. Connors. I could see how John Tom could resist any inclination to hate that white squaw. squaw. The lady and the kids stayed at the hotel in the morning. They say they will start for home. Me and Little Bear left at 8 o'clock and sold Indian Remedy to the courthouse square till 9. He leaves me and the professor to drive down to camp while he stays uptown. I'm not enamored. I'm not enamored with that plan, for it shows Jompton is uneasy is his composures, and that leads to firewater and sometimes to the green corn dance and coast. Not often does Chief Wishhap Daw get busy with the firewater, but whenever he does, there is hip much doing in the lodges of the pale faces who wear blue and carry the club. Alright guys, thank you for joining me today on my video and see you tomorrow on the next one. Bye.